And I'm loving. I'm able. I've got my sweater. I love the sweater weather,
Oh yeah,
and yeah, and my football shirt. I love this season. Seasons of life. This is one of my favorites.
same.
Hi, I'm Julie.
And I'm Caleb. Welcome to Nursing You, the podcast where we redefine nursing in today's healthcare landscape. Join Julie and I as we step outside the box on an unconventional healing journey.
Together, we're diving deep into the heart of nursing, exploring the intricate relationships between caregivers and patients with sincerity and depth.
Our mission is to create an open and collaborative experience where learning is expansive and fun.
From the psychological impacts of nursing to the larger implications on the healthcare system, we're sparking conversations that lead to healing and innovation.
We have serious experience and we won't pull our punches, but we'll also weave in some humor along the way because we all know laughter is often the best medicine.
It is, and we won't shy away from any topic, taboo or not. From violence and drugs to family and love, we're tackling it all.
Our nursing knowledge is our base, but we will be bringing insights from philosophy, religion, science, and art to deepen our understanding of the human experience.
So whether you're a nurse, a healthcare professional, or just someone curious about the world of caregiving, this podcast is for you.
One last thing, a quick disclaimer before we dive in. While we're both registered nurses, nothing we discuss here should be taken as medical advice. Always consult with your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider for any medical concerns you may have. The views expressed here are our own and don't necessarily reflect those of our employers or licensing bodies.
So let's get started on this journey together. Welcome to Nursing You, where every conversation leads to a healthier world.
Do you think that's connected to kind of the introspective nature of caregiving, like the giving, like the outward expression of giving care all the time, like pushes us inside, like I don't know. I think summer was always my favorite season as a child because I got to go outside and do things, and there was just so much freedom. And as I've gotten to be an adult, fall, like where I get to go inside and no one can complain that I'm hiding in my, domicile or whatever.
We do.
You know,
we drink pumpkin spice coffee, but I also feel like it's a very transitional season.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the heat of the summer and then the bitterness of the winter. I love summer because
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved having my kids off during summer. And so I think that, but now they're not little anymore and some of them don't even live at home. So it's a little bit different, and when you work full time, like summer really isn't summer. It's the same.
Right.
It's just hot.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
But there's something about fall and it is a transition into the hibernation. And
Mm-hmm.
the more I learn, I'm not really studying per se astrology, but the more you think about just the transitions of the planets and the moon and some of the higher thought of how things make the world go round, it talks about the seasons and how purposeful they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that we get away from that. We think fall is fall, y'all, and pumpkin spice coffee and Halloween, but if we kind of went back to what it means to transition from the summer into the hibernation of the winter, and if we would abide to that more like deeply, maybe it would have different effects, or it might be more relevant, or we would be able to explain it more. But I feel like there's something about that. And I think too, as you age.
Yeah. I mean, you said like one of the key words for me, which is meaning. What does it mean to transition from this to that? And meaning is I've read a lot about it on my healing journey. And I think that's part of why I'm so fascinated with the Enlightenment period and understanding how science came to be what it is today, because at the end of the day, the scientific method is really, it is just that. It's a method for discovering the truth of our material world. And so what that has created is almost, I mean, in a lot of ways, and I think this is part of what we're talking about in this podcast, is kind of the viewing the body as a biological machine. It's mechanistic. So much of the interventions that we do are mechanistic interventions, and what it cultivates is this cultural sense of, I'm just a cog in this wheel.
Yeah.
It doesn't effing mean anything. And so when I look at the kind of phenomenon of that deep yearning for meaning, and I see when I see the deep yearning for meaning, and then I see this phenomenon of so many people reaching out to the stars, like they're hungry for something to mean something. And I'm definitely not saying that there's nothing to the stars or the planets or any of that thing. I mean, I've spent a considerable amount of time thinking about this, that, our planets are out there, and, we know through quantum physics that dark matter has space. And I remember one night I was standing out looking up at the stars. I was working in the middle of the night in my wood shop and looking up there, and I'm looking at these stars and I'm going, all that darkness has mass. And science says that we're spinning in that mass. And if you've ever heard your brakes go out, you hear that spinning and it's wow, 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 it makes terrible noise. So I was kind of connecting that idea to these spinning orbs, these giant planets spinning around in the sky, and that they're spinning in mass, and that it's really all the way around, circumferential in every direction. It's omnidirectional. There's omnidirectional vibrational frequency that's happening with these planets spinning in dark matter. So all these vibrations are coming off these planets, and this planet's over here and this planet's over here, and that omnidirectional emission of frequency, like, just obviously causes those frequencies to interlace. And then you have all these dynamic planets in all these different directions, and they are all interlacing, creating a very unique vibrational pattern that it just makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And so when a baby's born, it never made sense to me that, why isn't it at conception that the baby is having its astrology thing happening? And it hit me that the womb is protective. Mm-hmm. So the child is incubating in there, and the mother's frequency is protecting the child. When the child comes out, that whatever the planets are out there doing is imprinting on the child and creating a unique vibrational pattern for that child's life. Mm-hmm. And none are the same. So literally the song of the universe is imprinted on that child. I mean, this is, I mean, I can't prove any of this. It's just like,
it's just what, right.
It's just,
but
it's purely anecdotal.
What you're saying is it gives things meaning, which, at the stage where we're at, it feels like it's necessary.
Well, I would say what the ultimate conclusion of that thought is that it's no different than the mechanistic function that we're performing down here. That these planets are like, those planets didn't invent themselves. Right. So there has to be something beyond that. The stars can't be it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there has to be more. And I, I've read a lot about it from a religious perspective, and I think that is really the root. Like, I think there's an element of it that is attached to the idea that if I understand what's happening out there, then I can manipulate my world down here, which is really, I think beyond our capacity. Yeah. And that doing that it's kind of like, part of the, as I study enlightenment, I study how we are where we are, and the lack of meaning, that with the lack of meaning has also brought in a lack of wonder. that because it doesn't mean anything, I have to search for the meaning, which necessarily like shifts how you think about everything, because there is a discovery process, but I think because you're trying to take control, you lose the ability to be open to the mystery of life, which is exciting.
Yeah.
That's like,
right.
Yeah.
Feeling the need to control everything, you cannot enjoy how life is going to unfold for you, because you're always trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck.
Yeah.
And kind of what we're going to talk about today, which is being open to the process of life and finding the meaning through wonder, through opening your eyes, through changing your perceptions
Mm-hmm.
about what you are looking at. You're not looking at anything different. You're looking at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It really is a lot about meaning. It's putting, you get to the point, some point along your life that, and we both have talked about this, where nothing means anything. And I think as you're saying that, and I'm thinking back, it's because I was trying to control everything.
Sure.
And when you're controlling, well, I mean, it's the ego, and it's just
when everything is falling apart all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And
Every day.
you're either living in the past and bringing things up from that, or trying to predict and manage and control what's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And our stories and situations have brought us to a point where we can be in the now,
mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in the now, you let go of the future and the past. And so the only thing you can do is see the meaning
Mm-hmm.
of what is now, what is right now. And we were thinking about what we were going to talk about, and I put out a Facebook post. Well, I was looking through pictures of myself, just pictures, and I came across this one of me standing kind of at a side angle. I think it was 2021. So it was the height of second storm COVID. And I was like completely blown away at the way that I looked. And not just in a like, oh God, you're so fat way. It was, God. It was, I'm so different now. And I have not been on a weight loss journey. That has not been my journey.
Right.
I always wanted to lose weight. I always hated the way I looked. I always thought that I was way fatter than I probably was, and did not enjoy looking at myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw this picture, I didn't really think that. I thought, oh, you are so different.
Yeah. You
are so different. And so I found a current picture of me, and I did the whole side by side.
Uh-huh.
And it was dramatic. My skin, my face, the way that my head, my eyes, the color, the whiteness of my eyes. I mean, a nurse would know a cortisol face from being like on steroids when she saw it. That was me.
Right.
That was me.
Yeah.
Massive amounts of cortisol.
Sure.
Flowing through my veins.
Right.
And depression, anxiety, gripping, trying so hard. I had already been the manager, and from what I would have said then, failed. But I now know that's not what happened. But I went back to the ICU. So I was working in the ICU, night shift with COVID. And So I thought I'll use that at some point. So it was in my photos. I thought that something will come across, like that's very dramatic. So, I had thoughts about it. And then I was looking through some schoolwork that I was doing. I'm in my master's getting for integrative health and wellness. And this was looking at the qualities of what makes a practitioner, a mindful practitioner, and high qualities and what are your lower qualities, and writing about that. And so I had written about it before. So I looked it up, or when I was reading it, and I thought, oh my God, this is perfect. This writing is perfect for that photo. And I'm ready now to put it out there. So I put it on Facebook, and the writing, I wrote it back in like January of this year. So this has been like 6 or 7, 8 months. It was kind of a story from behind what people saw as a story. It was like a behind the scenes for me, which was I had massive depression, massive anxiety, massive stress. Nothing was good. I remember telling someone at one point, all I care about is food. The only thing that makes me happy is food, is to stop at Quick Trip in the morning and get, or even on the way to work, and get a cinnamon roll specifically and a blueberry donut, because they're so good at Quick Trip, and a Coke and possibly a hot dog, maybe. But it was like everything else was like cement. My world was like cement, and it was so narrow for me. And I had already upped my antidepressant, changed it and upped it. I was on more blood pressure medicine. My thyroid, I couldn't regulate. I had been on thyroid medicine from being a nurse, and cortisol, all that for 15 years probably. And, all of a sudden I can't manage it, and I can't manage my blood pressure. And so it just put me on more blood pressure medicine. My triglycerides were through the roof. I was a mess. I was a literal mess. But, you maintain this sense of control. And it wasn't like I was trying to paint a good picture, because honestly, I didn't really give a shit. I didn't really care what people thought about me. Well, that's not true. I did, because I did maintain what I called my professional, when I was at work, I did not complain. I got it done. I was not going to be that one. I had lots of other younger nurses who were working under me who I felt needed me. That was probably in my own brain. Needed me to be the strong one. Because if I failed and if I couldn't do it, who literally could do it? That's how I felt. And so anyways, we kind of know my story a little bit. I left the bedside and did insurance, which that also killed me in another life, for a year. And then I finally left the hospital and really started healing myself. And it has been through that it was not like, oh, I got to go on, Jenny Craig. That's what I felt like I needed to do. But, it wasn't Jenny Craig. It wasn't Weight Watchers. It was not a diet that I went on. It was a healing journey that I went on. And through that, I look completely different.
Sure.
Obviously I've lost weight. But it's not because I was on any diet. I walk sometimes, but I'm not a gym rat by any means.
Right.
So it was very eye-opening to me and solidified my idea and my thoughts that when you change who you are on the inside, your outside appearance changes, and the way that you look at things.
Right.
So old me looked at that picture and said all the things, God damn, you are fat. And wow, that waist, those mean things, like literally get it together, girl. I got to go on a diet, like I got to start Monday. I'm doing it. I'm doing that's my life. That was my life. obsessed, but never could lose weight. Isn't that interesting? Totally
Yeah,
obsessed
yeah,
with
yeah.
losing weight, but could never lose weight. And now I look at that, I look at her in that picture and I just think,
You poor thing.
you poor thing.
Yeah.
Like, you just did not know. And you were so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, dead inside.
Yep.
And I just, the life and the light that you allow in, when you start allowing that in, it pushes out that darkness, and it comes out, like it literally comes out of your skin, and this meat sack is what I call this. It changes. And I think other people started to notice first. You know, my husband was like, "Oh, God damn, you know, you look great." You know, I mean, he's always giving me compliments, but it was for real. And I didn't really notice until I really put those two together that something is different. Something is very different.
Yeah. So I mean, you had to change some of your dietary practices. You didn't keep eating the cinnamon and the cinnamon roll and the blueberry muffin and the Coke and the hot dog for breakfast.
So in thinking about that, because I
was just thinking you stopped working bedside. So did you stop? I mean, you don't stop going to the gas station because you got a car, but you're not doing it every day, and it's not a routine. You got out of your routine.
Like I did get out of that routine. So I don't commute, but you know, I mean, I still drive to work. It has been a shift in, well, I just don't really want those things anymore. And that wasn't a choice, really. I didn't have to tell myself we don't want that. I just don't. And I feel like it's my job to take care of and what I put into my body. I think a lot of it is intention of like, I'm not dieting, but I'm fueling my body differently. But like, I had Red Baron pizza last night for supper, but I just ate it. You know how it's round and you cut it in four. I just had one, and then I was full. And whatever is different here is okay with that. I'm okay because I'm okay. Like, I know that I'm okay. I don't feel the need to hold on to what food gave me, because I get that already. So I have that. I moved from requiring that from external sources to getting that from within me. And it's hard to explain, honestly. You know, the little things that I've done, because it's not just like you decide and then one day and you make a big change and then here it is. It really hasn't been that way. The path has been more small, little
incremental
things. And practicing. I've done so much practicing, noticing my triggers a lot with my husband. That's a, you know, when you have that soul relationship, that's where you're going to find the most triggers.
Sure.
In being able to be calm and in a position to where I'm not like stressed to the max. I have the time and energy to notice, and it's in noticing. I don't know how I could say that.
You feel like
times.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me, because there's a observational element to that. What you're talking about, that you're observing yourself. I think we talked about that quote by what's his name, Eckhart Tolle. Oh. We talked about that on becoming, like, it was he couldn't live with himself anymore, which meant there's two of him.
Right.
The implications of I can't live with myself means that there's some differentiation between I and myself.
Right.
And so, like, the thing that I'm connecting this to we've talked a lot about kind of the almost out of body experience of when someone's dying and we're working to save them. And we're having that nonverbal communication, and it's automatic for us. Once you've been in the situation enough times, and once you have enough experience managing those critical situations, you just perform. And it just happens. What I hear you talking about with practicing observing yourself and your triggers, it's like the same muscle, but with intention. The intention, like, it's so much harder to see yourself objectively and from that like upper realm of looking at yourself, but it's the same skill. And I'm just,
well, it is very interesting that you say that, because we do, when you're at the bedside, you're always noticing. You're always noticing.
Never not looking.
Never not looking. That's the mantra.
Right.
I think I didn't never set out to be like, so now I'm going to do that to but it's taking what we do with others and at the bedside but taking it and doing that to yourself. So start noticing. It's interesting you said Eckhart Tolle, because I'm reading the book called The Power of Now, or something like that. Yeah. But so he does talk about the two people. And he said, in your head, say something. Say the word beautiful in your mind. Like, say it. So then, like, who said it? Who heard it? Mm-hmm. Because you didn't say it. Your mouth didn't say it. You didn't say it. Mm-hmm. And you didn't, so you can hear it because you didn't say it, but you heard it. Right. And someone said it. So that clicked with me. And he also talks about a pain body, our pain body, that is what has absorbed all of our pain, and a lot of where we go through life is with the pain body in front rather than who we truly are up front. And because it feels easier and safer because they are saving our lives, and it's because of fear of letting that go and really stepping into who you are that we don't. Mm-hmm. So our ego and the pain body says, you are way safer with me in charge. You are way safer if you just quiet in the back seat and let me manage all this, because I know how to save your life, lady.
Right.
And we're saying, but I'm not having any fun.
Yeah.
I don't find any meaning in any of this, but I'm saving your life. I hear you saying that, but it's not fun anymore.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's no longer helping. No. Like, yeah, maybe it has that part of the brain has the function to self-preserve, but then if it's just like we've talked about this before, the tendency to only remember the negative experiences.
Right.
And that really the work that we're talking about doing is taking our mind space under control and choosing to see the positive and remember positive things. And I think we talked about this in one of the recent episodes, just the idea of, if you only see the negative in a situation and that's what you connect to, it's only going to bring negative things. Mm-hmm. And so choosing to search and look for the positive in others, yourself, in situations, allows you to make positive connections, which transforms your life.
Totally
Completely
transforms.
Yeah.
And it's almost, it's not hard, really.
It's been hard for me.
Well, yeah.
It's the same incremental journey that you've been describing.
It's hard in a way that, like, it's not restrictive, like a low calorie diet, or I'm not in the gym for 8 hours trying to transform my body. But so I guess physically, it's mentally, it can be very mentally challenging.
I would say it's taken me years to get to where I am today, where I would say my scales are tipped towards the positive. Even with people that are really challenging in my life, I find it easier every year to connect to the positive. I mean, there are, and it's not perfect, but by goodness, compared to where I was 10 years ago, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a different person. My life has radically transformed.
So what are some of the little things that the incremental things that you do, that you practice, that are habits?
Well,
you're changing the things that you do on the regular that are different from then to now.
I found my spiritual path. That was key. I found, when I went through Warriors Ascent, I look back at that moment. It was a week-long retreat, and if I don't go through that, I don't think that I'm here doing. I just don't think that it's possible for me to be here doing what I'm doing, because it was just like so many light bulbs came on in that experience. The food piece. I had terrible food habits. Once not the same as yours, but not any better. I was on Adderall for so many years, and coming off of that, my metabolism slowed way down. So I put on a lot of weight, and weight that I've never had before. And I still carry some of that around. I've lost probably 20 pounds over the last few years, just by, I've taught myself how to cook. I'm very proud of that. It's kind of funny, but it's one of the things that I'm super proud of myself for. I didn't know how to cook anything. I was completely dependent on eating out and fast food, and just, I like good food, but I just didn't know how to do it. So, changing my diet, because in Warriors Ascent, they brought in nutritionists and explained how eating a heavy carb diet triggers your PTSD. It keeps you in that rut. And when I say rut, I mean, they had pictures, the MRI scans of the brain, where you can see the wherever it is in the brain that your PTSD memory, where your traumatic event is stored in the brain. They showed the images of how that biochemical cycle was constantly running in that space and eroding the gray matter of your brain. And, they connected it to the diet. And when I saw that, when I, all of that information that they handed over to me, it was just like I said before, it was just like, how did I not see this? I'm such an idiot. How could I not see, all the signs are right there? How did I, what is happening? There were it was just so many years of suffering. And then all the knowledge that I acquired in college came and just slapped me in the face and woke me up. So changing diet, exercising, although, nursing just doesn't accommodate an exercising lifestyle. I mean, you have to be a gym rat and that has to be your only thing. And that's not a healthy life. I mean, it's not balanced. It's certainly not balanced.
Well, no, because, you got 12 hours, and they're 12 grueling hours. If it's even 12, a lot of times it's 13 and a half,
13 and a
by
half,
the time,
14,
by the time you get out of there and you chart, and then, if you have any kind of commute, if you work nights, the only time I was able to exercise around the 12-hour shifts was before I had kids. I think I was 22, and I would ride my bike when I got off work in the morning, and then probably go to jazzercise before I went in. I don't know. The longer you're a nurse, it's so draining. And especially if you work night shift, you get off and you think in your mind that you're going to be able to do all this stuff, no, you can't.
Nah.
And then you're so disappointed. I was always so disappointed in myself. I would only let myself sleep 3 hours. So, well, till I was in my 40s, but I would sleep from like 9 to noon. And then I would get up, go get my kids because I felt terrible. We didn't have them in daycare. My family kept them, but I felt terrible for sleeping while someone else was watching my kids. So I would like make myself get up after 3 hours and then go get them and then hopefully be off. Now, if I had to work all day, I did prepare for that. I know a lot of nurses do not, and they try to manage their kids while trying to sleep for a full night in the daytime and then come back and work. I would be able to sleep till all day because I would make my husband go get them or something. So the in between, but regardless, if you're up all night doing nursing, you are dead.
Yeah.
For like 1 day and 2 days.
Well,
and the older you get, the worse it is.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, it's so terrible. It's like can you remember waking up, say, so like
in your driveway?
Well, that or at a stop sign. I would sometimes, out of pure safety, put it in park at a stoplight because I was so afraid. Yeah, very afraid. I've heard horror stories way worse than anything I ever experienced because I wasn't a real sleepy night nurse. You get those night nurses sometimes and they're giving you a report and they're like, hello, and or in the middle of a conversation at the desk or whatever, it's 2:30 or 3:30, whatever that weird time that before you do this, before you that, and you just asleep. You can't even help it. No. And oh God, so it's so terrible. And when you wake up, you feel it's like a chronic hangover is what it feels like. Yeah. Because you're nauseous. You're and you just function like that. It's so terrible.
It is so terrible.
Oh, it's so terrible. Yeah. But and it's not like, oh, I hate myself so much because I'm gonna make myself do this. It's an identity. And we embodied that night shift. We felt like we had to be there. We had to be there for each other. We had to be there for the patients. I know night shift worked best for the way my family was. My husband was in law enforcement and on shift work. And we just had to.
You're right.
And we talk about it now and we're like, do we regret that? And I mean, honestly, I don't. I don't think I would have survived working like a weird 9-to-5 job and putting my kids in daycare. I personally I don't think I could have done that. And I think similar when you go into the military or you do, it's like you are really, really in the trenches, but in a weird way, you're very proud of yourself. You're proud to say that you're a nurse. You're proud of the work that you do. You're proud that you're the one that's up at night. I would feel bad leaving my kids, but like, I knew I was going to do good things.
Right. Yes.
Yes. And that had to be something that overrode. Yeah. It overrode that physical. Oh, I mean, no wonder we're so tired.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you say like no one should ever have to work night shift, but then who's going to be there?
Yeah.
Who's going to be there? Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
And
there are people that are absolutely made to do that.
Yeah.
There are those. I'm not one of them.
I was for a long time, I thought, but it was very damaging on my body.
Oh yeah. No, but there were a handful of people that there was no other lifestyle for them.
Yeah.
So God bless them.
God bless them.
Ain't me.
Yeah. No. I didn't go to day shift till 2018. So from 96 to 2018, I worked night shift.
God, I remember, I don't know if I told this in episode 2 when we were talking about how I became a nurse, but I worked nights downtown, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Monday morning, I would get off at 7:15. I would drive 45 minutes across town to the school. I was in class from like 8 or 9. I had an hour lunch break, and I would go sleep in the clinic lab, the nursing lab, on one of the gurneys. And my study partner would wake me up for class at like 1:00 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was, and I mean, I did that for, I mean, and then I graduated and went straight into night shift, had my 6-month orientation or whatever it was on days, and then night shift for, I think, a total of 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Yeah. I didn't do it as long as you. I never want to do it again.
No. Every now and then, like they'll do on the group me, they'll be like, "Hey, we need a night shift nurse," da da da. And I'm like, I mean, and then I'm like, what?
No,
we do not do that anymore. I mean, one of the she was like begging if I would please come in, and I had to tell her no several times, and almost was like, and I was like, okay, literally. Look at yourself in the mirror. Okay. We do not do that anymore.
Yeah.
Do not. That is a boundary. I don't regret any of that. I don't. And I don't think anybody should. I know, because, and I think you would agree, if we didn't go through that, we would not be who we are today. And that sounds stupid and like something out of a book, but it's really true. If you didn't go through the things that you went through that caused you to be in situations where you were, that led you to a place that caused you to take a look and reevaluate your life.
That's the saying. I've said it before. Proust said, to deny the fool that I was in my youth would be to deny the man that I am today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I don't think no nurse should, if you're listening to the podcast and you're thinking, God, that is me, you'll know when you're ready. No, you are not going to do any kind of changing or until you're just ready. So things will resonate with you. You'll think about it. It'll feel right in your bones to do something different, to make a change, to start doing things a little bit, not drastic, a little bit different, a little different perception on things, little things. I'm trying to think like what some of the very first things, because
have I shared? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I'll share it again, because it was, I mean, it provides a little bit of context for kind of the meaning in everything that we've done together in creating Nursing You. Like the statement at the end of our outro, or our closing statement, be kind to yourself. One of the texts that we worked together with, I think John.
Yeah.
He
you probably what his last name said, but we won't say it. But yeah, I know you. Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
He would always, I mean, he was such a unique individual, and he would always say, be kind to yourself.
Wow.
And I was like, what does that even mean? And I would ask him, and I just stopped asking him because he said that he couldn't tell me. I had to discover it for myself. And so I hesitate to share what I discovered from hearing that over and over for years, because if I tell people to be kind to themselves, and then I explain what it means to me, I could be robbing them of the deep meaning of discovering that for themselves. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I think that it's not really, because people still have to discover it. You have to know only to yourself. It's only going to mean something if you figure it out for yourself. So even hearing something, of how it became for you is just a story for them.
Mhm. Yeah. So you want me to say it? You want me to share the story? So I thought about it. It never left me because he said it so many times, and it always was just like so open ended. And I remember one day, you know, in my rebuilding phase, you know, rebuilding my life, and I had to mow the lawn, and I didn't want to do it, but I knew that it had just rained a little bit, and I knew we had, you know, there was some dry patches in the ground, so there were just dirt patches, and if I waited until the next day, I would be subjecting my future self to a dust storm that was unnecessary. If I just get my butt up and I go do it right now, I'm helping me of tomorrow. I'm helping the me that's going to be living tomorrow
Oh, I love that.
by mowing the lawn today. And that moment was when I was kind to myself. The first time that I like had this conscious awareness of my, you know, my future self, where I'm actively being kind to myself. And it was just a flashbulb moment, a light bulb moment that kind of became one of the tools that I've used to think of myself in that observer role. What can I do for Caleb that's going to be here tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, you know, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? It changed how it changed everything. You know, it's still something I have to practice. It's still something but it's definitely one of the tools that I use to care for myself.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's so great. That reminds me, kind of the first time I started thinking of myself and then myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able,
Mm-hmm.
like, I kind of separated that after I quit drinking, and some of the education and groups that I was in, there were suggestions of setting yourself up for success for the next day, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you hear that a
Sure.
lot, you know, and whatever. But, you know, if you're going to go running, you know, set your shoes out in the morning so it's not challenging. Well, my one thing that hit me was get your shit ready for tomorrow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have to wake up and make a lot of decisions. You want to go as far as you can in the day with ease until you know, so that then hopefully, because she was basing it basically on stress. So you want to get as far into the day without stress, with ease, so that you're not just going to be like, I need a drink. And then so that was part of that work, which was set your
Interesting.
clothes out at night, set your lunch out at night, get your kids' stuff ready. You know, some of those things that would prepare, like you were saying, your future self for the tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can live a more easy life. So instead of
Sure.
just going to bed and not doing any of that and then having to worry or figure it out and stress out about what to wear and where's my food and all that, because that, for a drinker, leans to, I've had a lot of shit going on today and I will be drinking when I get home.
Right.
So that was key for me, and I still use it at now, because preparing today, it just leaves for ease tomorrow. And you're being kind. You're being
Being
kind
kind
to
to
your
yourself.
other self, who
Yeah.
can sabotage your ass. And
You can sabotage.
Oh God, yeah. Yes. And we do it a lot of times very subconsciously.
Uh-huh.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, being kind to yourself is a very good tool. And everyone will view that differently and see it in their own lives how it will, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think the value of rituals, like good rituals. Like you had the ritual of stopping at Quick Trip and doing the cinnamon roll and all the things, and cultivating positive rituals that kind of that are just inherently built in for being kind to yourself, which diet is a huge one. Learning to cook, like, God, with Instagram. I mean, I taught myself how to cook from Instagram.
Yeah,
I just
wow.
say, like, you know, they have the picture of the finished product, and then you scroll or, you know, move it over, whatever. I'm obviously great at socials. You go to the video portion, and it shows every process, every step in the process. It has a full list of the things that you need to go to the grocery store. So my grocery list is my Instagram saved posts. I've got a file of recipes. So when I want to learn something new, and I mean, I've gotten to be really good at it.
I've had your food. I know. Yeah. What you've made is very tasty.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. It's just so silly, but
it's
me,
such
like,
self-care. It's loving yourself so much that you will care for yourself as you would your child.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Feeling of caring for your child and the things that you would do for your child, you have to feel the same way about you. And we don't. I mean, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
You know, just pushing yourself all the time. Mm-hmm. So draining.
Yeah.
So draining. I think that we're excited to have some guests pretty soon. Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to those and getting those set up and getting those pods out there too.
Yeah.
So again, we're practicing asking for what we want. So in that, we would love if you would like and share, because that is how it gets. That's how this world is. You share. You share what you love. See something at Target, you tell somebody about it. You see a good podcast, you tell somebody about it. So if you think this is a good podcast, share it. Even if you don't think it's good, you can share it, because surely you know someone who could listen and get something good out of it. We have a website. It's www.nursingyoupod, because we call this a pod.com. That's all in on our social media and things like that.
You know what? We could call it Pod 4.
Pod 4? Is it a train 4?
No, we had 3 pods in our ICU.
Oh God, Caleb, it was. Yeah, that's funny. This is like Pod 4.
Like Pod 4,
and then we can invite people to our pod.
Yeah,
what we do. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here.
Keep the dialogue going by connecting with us on social media posted in the links below, or by visiting our website.
Together, let's continue to redefine nursing and shape a brighter future for those we care for. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep nurturing those connections.
And don't forget to be kind to yourself.